So my name is Gareth Kennedy and I'm lead coordinator of NCAD FIELD at the National College of Art and Design. So NCAD FIELD is a derelict or brownfield site that's directly beside the college, which we're beginning to critically reconsider as a novel ecology. That's to say that the mix of flora and fauna here and the kind of ecology here is something highly particular and worthy of study. So what's happened in NCAD FIELD is all the plants have been allowed fully kind of express themselves. They've been allowed go to flower to give food for pollinators and other insects. And then now they've also been allowed go to seed, but we have to cut the ground back once a year by way of management, so it doesn't get infested with buddleia or whatnot. So what we have here today is the students getting introduced to the site and knowing what it is they actually cut. So we have Chris Hayes from Wexford who came up, and Chris runs scything courses, and he introduces this tool with a wonderful sensitivity and also with quite a philosophical approach about why the scythe matters today in terms of slowing down, in terms of actually connecting with the ground under our feet, and in terms of actually being cognizant of what we cut,
My name is Chris Hayes. I'm from the Republic of Wexford and I teach scything courses and I sell scythes. I've been working with scythes for about the last 10 years. Started off using it as a tool that I used in my own work. I'm a forester, so I used to use the scythe for managing grass, especially on sensitive scythes and in areas where I didn't want to be using a strimmer all day. The scythe is a much easier tool to use and just as effective. And a lot more pleasant. A lot of it was selfish on my half. I wanted an easier working day. And now I teach courses around the country in different places. And definitely over the last few years, there's been kind of a pretty big upswing in how people are interested in using the scythe to manage their garden, to use it on parts of their land if they're a farmer, and just generally to slow down a little bit.
So the scythe is a traditional tool or implement that we have a photograph of a man called Tony McCabe, who would have been the last man using a scythe in the LIberties in Dublin on the famous grass roof of the Powers Distillery, which of course is now NCAD.
Gareth reached out to me about this project here, the field, which is beside NCAD. And I've been called to many different places to do scything courses, but when he said, yeah, it's NCAD, and I was like, the LIberties in Dublin, you want me to teach scything? So yeah, he talked to me about it, what was going on here. I immediately thought it was great. And he also sent me a picture of a guy on a roof of a distillery here on Thomas Street, probably back in the 70s. So Powers Distillery was here. And on top of the distillery, in the warehouses in those days, they used what people call now a living roof. So the roof had pasture on top of it, and it was a way to try and keep an ambient temperature in the building underneath. But back then in the 70s, they used to manage it with a scythe. So he sent me this picture of a guy on the roof mowing the meadow for the last time. And it was a great picture, and it immediately you're thinking, yeah, it's great. Sometime, for generations up to the mid-70s, there was meadows above us here in the LIberties, and there was guys up there scything them. So who knows, we might find that guy or find out other people that work like this. So there's a lovely kind of bringing those skills back here and connecting these students with particular skills that they might need in their practice here of being art students and working with nature rather than against it, I guess.
Why the scythe back here? The scythe has been described as a convivial tool, which is to say it lets people work together and it's also been described as something that generates a kind of pace and a rhythm and a sensitivity to sight.
And the one thing about the Austrian scythe that's very different to the traditional Irish scythe, and to the one that guy Tony was using in the picture Gareth sent me, the Irish one has a much more pronounced curve on this long part, the snath. So the Austrian scythe, this is it. You attach two handles, and then of course you have the all-important blade here. Different types of blades. We've been using two today. Ditch blade, which is this one here, and a bush blade. And so basically the scythe, what I went through with the guys was how to set the scythe up. So you set it up proportionate to your own body. So you find the ball and socket joint at the top of your leg, and that gives you the position of this handle here, what we call the lower handle. And then from the lower handle to the upper handle, you place your elbow out your fingers and you find the position of the top handle. So with the scythe, you're stepping in and you're becoming part of an ecosystem here. And yes, we're deciding to clear some plants. We might use that material for something else, but we are interacting and we are making decisions. So the decisions about what we're cutting and what we're leaving, some of that is going to be up to you guys, and some of it's going to be guided by the maintenance goals we have here today.
My name's Miles Quinn. I was in second year media, I'm now going into third year Studio Plus and into the field project in NCAD. We were doing scythes, just learning sort of a bit about the history of them in Ireland, learning how to use them, clearing up some space. They were saying that usually they get contractors in to clear all the space, but they just they just level everything. And we don't want that, we want to keep some of the plants that we have. So we were just doing that, making sure we were picking and choosing what we were cutting down. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, but once you got into the rhythm of it and everyone was helping each other, and it was very communal almost, or something like that, you know.
How are you
Katie,
doing,
how's it
guys?
going?
This looks great.
Yeah.
The cabbage is still standing. Well done, everyone.
If you find yourself sometimes getting exasperated, that's also a good time. If you're kind of losing run of yourself a bit, it's also a good time to stop and to take a moment to sharpen. And basically this is the edge that you're sharpening with, this narrow edge down along here, okay? And you're placing the scythe, like so. Again, like a lot of things with scything, there's a sound that goes with this, okay? Support it there as I move along. There we go.
My name is Sophia Marr. I'm a final year student in painting. Last year I came to the field for the whole year as a module, and just really, it's such a strange place that I kind of fell in love with it. But also every time you came in, it's sort of a changing environment in the city. So I grew up in the countryside, sort of surrounded by nature. But when you come in here, you're coming through the LIberties, through Thomas Street, into this green space. So you're in Dublin, you're in a college, an institution, and you come out to this place and it's a very different environment. And you have more freedom with that. So if you want to do something that takes more space, or might not necessarily work inside, so I wanted to plant some plants for making paint. I was able to do that here, and I was also able to find stuff that was native to the field to incorporate into my practices. And I guess this place has a lot of freedom in it, but also there's a lot of things here that you can be curious about and sort of find interest in. So yeah, it's just a really wonderful, novel site.
So I suppose for me, it's this idea of, I love this idea, this phrase called appropriate technology. And we're flooded with technology now all the time. We've come up with some incredible inventions and incredible technology that we can, use in a meaningful way. But sometimes that appropriate technology was developed a couple of centuries ago. And it's appropriate for us to use that technology now in certain situations where basically we want to slow things down. Very often with how we live today, everything is quite fast. Everything happens really, really quickly. And sometimes what we crave and what we need to function as proper humans is to slow things down. And the Scythe is a way into that. It's a way to take control of time, to slow everything down, to tune in, to listen to things. The Scythe is it's a very effective tool, and it's very enjoyable, because all of a sudden you can go out into the landscape, and rather being in that landscape and bringing more noise, which in the case of using a strimmer or kind of feeling busy and rushed, a Scythe is asking of you to slow down.
It was lovely coming together with everyone, just hanging out, and we all had lunch together and chatting and seeing friends and stuff like that, and making new friends as well. I met a few new people here today as well. It was really nice. And yeah, it was just like, it was a very communal thing, cutting all the grass and putting it all into big piles.